Rushanara, please.
Good afternoon. I want to focus my questions on the green bonds that the Chancellor announced. So if you could start with, perhaps Mr. Ackley, if you could start off with talking us through the proposed green bonds and how you would ensure that the funds invested are invested in a way that achieves the green outcomes, and also how will the greenness of the bonds be verified? And perhaps your colleagues could come in as well to add to those points, those questions.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. We're delighted to be part of the team that's delivering the retail green bond. This is obviously a global first. It's the first sovereign retail green bond to be produced. So really, really delighted to be part of it. I do want to flag, we are going to be the ones responsible for selling it. We are going to be the ones responsible for raising the money. When it comes to the whole issue of the investment side of it, that is actually going to be handled directly by the Treasury. So they are the ones who'll be able to answer your questions around the detail about how that works. We've committed, the Chancellor committed in the budget that this will be launched in the summer, and there will be therefore more information in the summer about the details of exactly how the product will work. But suffice to say, it will be something which will invest in a series of environmentally related projects that are being delivered by the government, and that will be be matched against those investments. The detail of how that will run is very much something which will be handled by the Treasury. So, if I can just clarify that, so what will happen is we will raise the funding as per all the funds, all the products that we raise at the moment. That money will then go into the National Loans Fund. So that's how it works. The next stage, therefore, is then a matter for the Treasury.
So do you have any influence in shaping the part that the Treasury is responsible for? Because it does seem like, it's a bit sort of bitty, shall we say. And you mentioned that it's the first in the world, but there are other similar schemes, are there not, in France, the US, China, Netherlands, and Germany? What's different about this one?
My understanding is this is the first sovereign retail fund that's existed. That's what I've been told. The issue about, you say it's bitty, is not unusual for us to work in the environment. We have a business-to-business arm which provides services to other parts of government. Through that, we will often deliver part of a service. So, for example, when it comes to the Help to Save scheme, we administer the accounts for that. The marketing and the other elements of that are all handled by another department. So in the case of this is just another one of these products where we'll be responsible for the front end of it. They'll be responsible for the rest of the proposition.
Okay. Does anyone else want to come in? Ruth Curry, Matt Smith, did you want to add anything to those points? If not, I'll move on to the next lot of questions.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether you're going to ask questions around kind of the operational sort of readiness for the green products, but the timing that the Chancellor announced in the budget for the product to be launched later in the year, obviously dovetails well with when we expect our recovery to be completed. As Ian's already said, the recovery process is in flight. We are seeing real improvements in the performance of the contact centre. Still more work to do in complaints, as we've said, and we expect to complete that work over the summer and be back up to speed. So we are very confident that we'll be in a good position to successfully deliver the green bond upon its launch.
Just to any one of you who's willing or able to answer this question, how are you going to ensure that the green bonds offer value for money for taxpayers, or is that a question for Treasury ministers again?
I think I'll answer that question. The answer is that the way this product will be priced is it will be a product that will pay an interest rate.
Yeah.
So just like all our other products, and therefore we will go through an exercise of looking at what's the prevailing rates in the market, what rate do we think we need to offer in order to be able for it to be a good good, fair price and one that will be attractive to customers. And then we'll strike that balance. And just like with all our products, it'll be a matter of that same challenge of right thing for taxpayers, savers, and also for the market.
So should investors expect the interest rates not to be too low, or are you going to be relying on their conscience to?
I know you're very keen. You're very keen to find out what the rate will be, and I'm not going to tell you because it hasn't been set yet. And the reason it's not been set is because the market is moving all the time. One of the key players in the market yesterday reduced their rates by a third. Yeah. So it's really hard, for us. We've got a milestone in the future when we will set that rate.
Let me ask the question in a different way. How do you expect this bond to evolve if interest rates are too low? What are the chances of this succeeding? Because obviously it's encouraging that the Chancellor's introduced this. What can we learn from other countries? In fact, there are equivalents. They might not exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly.
What are the chances of this succeeding in a context if interest rates are very low? Is it then that you'd have to take a different tack and different approach to encourage people to invest?
I think it's a genuinely difficult challenge, and I think it's one that we're really looking forward to. We're doing quite a lot of market research at the moment to see customers' attitude towards this. And you're absolutely right about that trade-off between, do you rely on people's sort of green conscience in order to in order to make up for what might be a relatively low interest rate? Or does it require a high interest rate because, frankly, people may be sceptical about the proposition? We're just investigating that right now to try and find out what that might be. Overall, it's going to be a combination of NS&I's responsibility in pricing the product and Treasury in devising the matching that will go behind in terms of the investments to be able to create a proposition that's compelling. So that's what it's going to have to be.
Okay, and just in terms of ensuring it offers value for money for taxpayers. I mean, I know I'm asking you lots of contradictory questions. On the one hand, a good return for investors, but on the other hand, value for money for taxpayers. How are you going to try and balance that in terms of both what you do and what you're in relation to your discussions with the Treasury in terms of the part of this scheme that they have to shape and design?
Yeah, welcome to my world. I mean, that trade-off between the two is something that Ernest and I, we live with every day. And we need to, it will be a judgment call. Part of that is looking at that balance we strike at the moment. Part of it is just ensuring that the price is one where, quite plainly, it's not, if you put too high a rate on it, quite plainly, everybody will rush into it. And the conclusion from that would probably be that the taxpayer is overpaid. And obviously, on the flip side, if you put too low a rate on it, nobody buys it, and therefore, there's significant money involved in setting up a product like this. So we need the product to be at least successful to cover its costs.
Just quickly on this, what kind of demographics are you looking at as investors? Who can afford to invest? I mean, can you, if my constituents are watching this, very green, very focused on green issues. What sort of demographic are you looking for? Could it qualify? How wealthy do you need to be able to invest?
We'll be looking to make this product as accessible as we can. Is our key. I'm personally really passionate about that. One of the changes we've implemented.
What would be the amount that you would need to have to invest? I mean, where do you start? That's what people would want to know. How much money do you need to have in order to be able to invest in a green bond? How democratic is this bond?
Yep. You're absolutely correct, and we will be announcing that. And I'm not going to preempt this announcement now. But let me just reassure you, one of the things we changed, in the last couple of years is, premium bonds had a minimum investment of £100. Yeah. I thought that was too much, and our research showed it was too much. We took that down to 25. So we're very set on trying to make this successful. Quite what the lower limit will be on the green product, it's back to that one about the cost of administering this, the cost of running it, and trying to strike that balance. So
I look forward to hearing more about it. It's a very exciting proposition. So I hope it's successful. I've got one final question for all of you, starting with you, Mr. Ackley. Your most recent published figures, this is not about green bonds, figures indicate that you had a median gender pay gap of 11% and a bonus pay gap of 25% between men and women. Why is this gap so large?
The reason we've got that large gap is because of changes we made to the bonus scheme. So that's one of the reasons that's happened. If you actually look at the footnotes in it, you'll see there's a bit of an explanation offered in the reporting accounts as to why things have changed. It's to do with, and I can come back to you and provide you more detail on this, be happy to revert on it, but it is in the details of the way that our scheme works and the subtleties of the mix of staff, male and female staff we have in the organisation.
It would be helpful to know how you're going to tackle this gap. It's a pretty worrying gap, in my view. And we had an inquiry into women in finance, as you know, in the previous Parliament. And frankly, women are pretty fed up in this country of being done in the workplace, as well as in safety terms. You've seen the debates in the last week. So it would be helpful to understand better what you're going to do as an organisation to close the gap. Of course, we understand there are lots of structural barriers, but operationally what's happening in writing, given we're short of time. I don't know if Ruth Curry, if you'd like to come in, being one of the three witnesses who's a woman, to comment on that.
Before she comes in, can I just say we're absolutely committed to diversity and equality in our workplace. We signed up into the Women in Finance scheme several years ago, and I'm very pleased to say that we conform with that. Until very recently, my management team was 50% men, 50% women. Our non-execs are similarly split. So we are very keen to have that gender balance. Ruth, what would you like to say?
Yeah, picking up on that, as with many organisations, our gender mix is varied across the different grades. So at the more junior grades, it's 60 to 65% are women. At the higher grades, it tends to be only 40 to 45%, and that, as a consequence, causes the gender the gap. One of the things that we've done in NS&I is, for the first time, we're supporting 6 women on the Crossing Thresholds programme, which is a civil service-wide programme for supporting women in progressing and developing their careers. So that's a really important initiative in helping those at the middle and junior management grades to progress through. And I think that's one of the really important things, is to help people develop on their career. We're doing a lot of focus around career progression, around us as in the senior team, mentoring those colleagues, and I do it within NS&I and across civil service, the government finance profession. I mentor individuals. So, I think personally, I'm really passionate about it, not just on the gender side, but on other aspects of diversity and inclusivity. But certainly we've got a real focus around gender, around ethnic minorities, and around LGBT plus as well.
Thank you. Matt Smith, do you want to come in from an operational perspective?
Yeah, so I would just add, obviously all of the things that Ian and Ruth have said about NS&I kind of go across the whole organisation. I might add that obviously our service partner, delivery partner, Atos, this is something that is very important to them as well. As part of the partnership charter that we have between NS&I and Atos, they have committed also to ensuring that they're managing the gap in pay, and ensuring that there's a focus on diversity. And I think I would say the benefit that we've seen as NS&I from that relationship is, as a large organisation, Atos have at their disposal quite extensive resources in this space, and we've been able to participate and collaborate with Atos in that space. And so I think it has taken us through that sort of evolution curve maybe more quickly than we would otherwise have done more organically.
Thank you very much. I've gone over time, but I'd be very grateful for a written update, particularly in relation to this bonus gap that's increased.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. We'll update you on the bonus gap.
Rushanara, thank you.